So we're here with DJ Marcus to talk about hip hop, the culture that taught us reality itself could be sampled and remixed.
That's right, Sterling. And what people miss is this wasn't just about music. This was about economic innovation. You're in the South Bronx, 1973, the neighborhood's literally burning, and you want to create. You can't afford instruments, studio time, none of that. But somebody's got turntables and records.
Taking consumption technology and making it creation technology.
Exactly. Herc figured out you could take two copies of the same record, extend the break, that moment where the drums hit hardest, and suddenly you've invented a whole new instrument out of equipment designed just for playback.
Which connects directly to what we learned from gaming, taking designed systems and repurposing them for new uses.
For sure, we couldn't afford to buy all the instruments, so we made the whole history of recorded sound our instrument. Your parents' James Brown records, your aunt's Aretha Franklin albums, that reggae 45 from the corner store, that was our orchestra.
Cultural archaeology meets creative necessity.
And it was democratic, man. You didn't need classical training. You needed ears, timing, and something to say. Grandmaster Flash taking Chic's bass line and flipping it into social commentary. That's not theft, that's conversation across time.
Temporal collaboration. The original artists became unwitting partners in new cultural creation.
Right, and we were transparent about it. Hip-hop never hid the samples. When Eric B. and Rakim used James Brown, we wanted you to recognize it. That was part of the art, the citation, the reference, the conversation.
Same consciousness we developed from MTV. The construction could be obvious and still be authentic.
Exactly, and this is where hip-hop taught us something crucial. Authenticity wasn't about being unmediated. It was about being honest about your mediation. DJ Premier using that Bob James piano loop isn't hiding his process.
The manipulation itself becomes the authentic expression.
For sure, and that prepared us for everything digital that came after. When you grow up understanding that a record player can be an instrument, you already know that all technology is potentially creative technology.
From turntables to touch screens, same principle.
Right. And look at the 90s. Hip-hop figured out it could be everything. Wu-Tang sampling Kung Fu movies, bringing Staten Island to the world. Outkast making the South matter when everyone thought hip-hop was just East Coast.
Regional diversity through shared sampling principles.
Nas on Illmatic using jazz samples. His father was a jazz musician, so those weren't samples, that was inheritance. He was sampling his own family history.
Cultural lineage made audible.
And Dr. Dre creating G-Funk by slowing down Parliament, making California sound like its own planet. Every region found its voice through sampling different parts of musical history.
This connects to what Vinyl and I discussed about MTV. We learned early that you could honor tradition while transforming it.
Absolutely. And here's where it gets deep. Every sample is a historical reference. When A Tribe Called Quest samples Lou Reed, they're building bridges between the Velvet Underground and Queens.
No sacred texts, just useful texts.
Exactly. Hip-hop proved that all culture is available for recombination. High culture, low culture, those boundaries were always artificial. If it's recorded, it can be sampled. If it can be sampled, it can be transformed.
Which is why our generation wasn't freaked out by remix culture when it became digital. We'd been practicing it since childhood.
Right. Think about what we learned from hip-hop battle culture too. The cypher, the MC battle, the DJ competition. Your skills got tested in real time, just like the arcade.
Earned authenticity through demonstrated competence in constructed systems.
For sure, and you couldn't fake it. Bad sampling was obvious. It didn't flow, didn't create new meaning. The community would expose you immediately.
Same way we learned to distinguish quality in all cultural remixing.
And hip-hop went global early. Africa Bambaataa wasn't just sampling American funk. He was pulling from Kraftwerk from everywhere. The whole world became source material.
Cultural sampling across continents, just like how we built our Gen X identities from fragments everywhere.
Exactly. And this is crucial. Hip-hop taught us that originality isn't about creating from nothing. It's about creative recombination of what exists. That's why when AI started making music, I wasn't shook.
The AI is just doing what samplers always did, finding patterns and creating new combinations.
Right, though the human intentionality is different. When I choose a sample, I'm making emotional and cultural connections, but the principle is the same. New culture built from fragments of old culture.
And that's the skill hip-hop gave our generation. Every meme is a sample. Every TikTok trend is a break being extended.
For sure, social media is just hip-hop principles applied to all media. You take existing content, flip it, add your voice, pass it on.
Remix reality before reality became completely digital.
And hip-hop taught us you could honor the past by transforming it, not just preserving it. When Kanye sampled Nina Simone or Lauryn Hill sampled Roberta Flack, they weren't disrespecting the originals. They were continuing the conversation.
Respectful transformation rather than reverent preservation.
Exactly, and that's how our generation approaches nostalgia too. We're not trying to go back to the 80s or 90s. We're sampling the best parts and making them work now.
Remix nostalgia instead of pure nostalgia.
And here's the thing, hip-hop becoming pop music wasn't selling out. Hip-hop has always been populist, music for the people, by the people, using the people's records.
The sampling ethic became how all culture works.
Right, by the 2000s, hip-hop wasn't just influencing pop music, it was pop music. Because the lesson we learned, that all culture is raw material, that creativity is recombination, that became universal.
And we were there from the beginning, learning that lesson before we had language for it.
For sure, hip-hop taught Gen X that you don't need permission to create, just imagination and willingness to repurpose what exists. That carried through to everything, playing TV instead of watching it, building websites instead of just surfing them, creating content instead of just consuming it.
The tools of consumption became tools of creation if you were creative enough.
Exactly, and that's hip-hop's ultimate gift, proving that cultural participation doesn't require expensive equipment or formal training. It requires ears, heart, and something to say.
Economic limitation transformed into creative liberation.
That's it right there. Hip-hop came from deprivation, but created empowerment. Couldn't afford instruments, so we made the record player the instrument. Couldn't get on radio, so we made mixtapes. Every limitation became innovation.
That's the Gen X story too. Less security than our parents, so we became freelancers, entrepreneurs, portfolio workers. Hip-hop taught us how to make something from scraps.
And we taught the world that the remix is real, the sample can be art, and that all of recorded history is just breaks waiting to be extended.
Hip-hop didn't just change music, it changed how we think about culture itself.
Every generation since has been living in the remix reality that hip-hop pioneered, and we were there learning to find the frequency between respect and reinvention.
The postmodern lesson delivered through breakbeats, authenticity through acknowledged construction, originality through creative recombination.
That's the truth. Hip-hop taught us that the past isn't dead, it's just waiting to be recontextualized, and that might be the most important thing our generation learned.